My name is Rayna. I'm a fourth year English major, gender studies minor, and a student in the GSWS 306 class. It's been 50 years since SFU offered the course Geography 404, the Geography of Gender in 1971, a course that made way for the first women's studies program in Canada and what would become today's vibrant, interdisciplinary Department of Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies at SFU. We are all so honored to be a part of the program. With that being said, I'd like to welcome and thank you all for joining us today for the launch of our class's anthology, which is titled Past Tense. Before we get started, as a settler scholar here at SFU, I'd like to acknowledge the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, Coquitlam, Kwantlen, Katsi, Kaikai, Semiahmoo, and Tsawwassen peoples on whose traditional unceded territories our three campuses reside.
Thanks again for joining us. Our course GSWS 306 started out with us taking a deep dive into the world of memoirs. With the help of our amazing professor, Claire Robson, we looked at these pieces through a critical lens that acknowledged gender, race, sexuality, ethnicity, and cultural identity. We would meet in small breakout rooms every Monday night during class in order to gain insightful feedback from our peers to create a more engaging and meaningful piece of work. Using our intensive peer critiques and our new skills in writing autobiographies, our anthology Past Tense came to life. The book is filled with our own personal mini autobiographies that contain subject matters ranging from sexism, immigration, family life, school, and even romance. We have put a lot of time in pieces, and we hope you enjoy them as much as we do.
Thank you everyone again for joining us today for our book launch. We're so excited to finally share what we've been working hard at over the semester. My name is Jenny and I've been given the opportunity to be the editor for our anthology. Thank you again to Claire for giving me the opportunity for this experience. Past Tense will be published with First Choice Books, a local book press located in Victoria with over 60 years of expertise. Because this book is going to be self-published, there will only be one printing. So if you're interested in having your very own copy of Past Tense, please place an order with myself or Claire today. You can email Claire at clairerobson@shaw.ca or myself at kimjak@sfu.ca if you're interested in placing a pre-order. Once again, this will only be printed once, so this is your chance for a physical copy. I can't wait to share Past Tense with everybody. Thank you again.
Hi everyone, my name is Bhavya Goswami. I am a human geography major and a gender sexuality and women's studies minor. It is my pleasure to welcome you all here today on the occasion of our book launch. Thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. Today, we couldn't have everyone read tonight. We are a large class, not everyone could read this evening, but we have got a group of wonderful volunteers who stepped up to represent the whole group. Please feel free to clap, give a thumbs up, send a heart, surprise, or celebration emoji using the reaction tab available at the right-hand side of your laptop screens. If you are using a mobile device, you can click on the three dots in the right-hand side corner to give a reaction. So please feel free to use these during the readings since we cannot applause in person. All right, let's get to the reading. So our first reader tonight is Sharon Mali, and I will turn the evening over to her now. Sharon.
Thank you, Bhavya. Hi, everyone. My name is Sharon Gaur Mali, and I am an undergraduate student here at SFU, double majoring in philosophy and gender studies. Today, I'm going to be reading a poem of mine titled Being a Woman. Being a woman. When I turn on the tap to drink water, my feet feel the ache for the woman that came before me, walking miles to collect water for others. Being a woman. As I grudgingly travel to school, it's the eagerness and excitement of the girls who were forbidden from getting an education that physically move me to class. Being a woman. When I raise my hand or also satisfyingly present my winning argument, I hear the roaring applause of all the girls who were silenced and kicked down, cheering me on. Being a woman. When I sit beside my father and brother at the dinner table, my stomach grumbles for the little girls who waited until dinner was over, only to eat the leftovers of the men in their homes. The day my employer handed me my first paycheck, I saw not one hand, but the thousands of those who fought for the value and worth of my work as an individual. When I move my hand to hand in my ballot, I walk on the bleeding yet strong backs of women like Sojourner Truth and Sophia Dalip Singh, who paved my way. On a hot summer day, each strand of my dress and shorts have been fought for by the so-called shameful women before me, so my beautiful long brown legs can also feel the embrace of the warm golden sun. Every corner I turn, every step I take, everything that I say is off the backs of strong, powerful women that fought so that I can live the beautiful life that I do. Now I must find safety in their shadows, courage in their actions, and continue leading the way for all those who will follow after me, being a woman. Thank you.
I believe I'm next. So hi again, my name is Rayna. I am going to be reading one of my pieces, which is titled Bus Stop Encounter. So yeah, after an unsuccessful search in an empty parking garage, I had to come to terms with the fact that it was gone forever. I walk out of the dark underground lot onto a busy street in downtown Vancouver, one that is veiled in cloudy skies. The cold wind hits my face, and the gloomy weather is just an even bigger reminder of the unfortunate loss I've just endured. I had saved up for almost a year for that phone, and it contained thousands of photos and videos of people I love that I had not backed up anywhere. I sat at the bus stop parallel to St. Paul's Hospital next to an elderly woman and began to cry. Around me, I see people going about their days, rushing to their jobs, hunched over onto their phones, even when crossing the street. Without mine, I almost felt naked. I was directionless without this device. I felt so stupid. How could I have lost it? I won't be able to afford another one, and years worth of memories and work was on that device. I try to rationalize by telling myself it's silly to place this much value on a material item, but I can't help but cry knowing how hard I worked for that device. I still feel silly for crying, and I tell myself I'm being subtle. The elderly woman shifts in her seat, turns towards me, and after she takes a deep breath, she begins to speak. Whatever it is that you're going through, you're going to be okay, she says. It takes me a few moments to realize she's talking to me, but when I look up, the sincerity in her eyes makes me cry even more. Not even because of what's going on, but more so because now I feel even more silly for crying. The kind lady continues on and tells me how she had just left the hospital for treatment for her illness that will ultimately be fatal to her. And she leads me into smiling by saying, "Look around. Everyone has struggles, everyone faces hardships, but it's important for you to smile." She's dressed in a purple jacket, a hat, gloves, and a colorful scarf. Her bag seems full and heavy, but she seems unfazed by the weight as she attempts to comfort me. Her eyes are kind and warm. Her wrinkled smile would usually be contagious. She asks me to smile, offers me candy and a hug, tells me it's okay to cry, and asks me why I'm crying. I feel silly even mentioning it to her after she tells me what she's going through, but she validates me by saying everything is everything is relative. She says that even though what she's going through is tough, she chooses to smile. She compares herself to me, saying this feels hard and painful right now, and that I should validate my own feelings. On the bus ride, she tells me more about her life, and she's been through so much. I eventually stop crying, and she holds my hand, gives me a hug, and asks me to think of her and our conversations whenever I feel sad. I don't think I will ever forget her. Moments later, she disappeared into the rush at the train station, and I went back to my workplace, feeling sad that I had lost something so valuable, but content at the same time, knowing everything would fall into place just like she had assured me. This small interaction at the time seemed like something that would pass me by eventually, and years later, I still find myself thinking of this woman, remembering her reassuring gaze and her kind words, allowing my feelings to be felt, and keeping her sentiment close to my heart.
Hi, everyone. It's Jenny again. I will be reading an excerpt from my piece in the anthology. I haven't come up with the title for it yet, but I've always liked airports. I like watching people's tired eyes light up when they finally got to the arrivals hall and found their friends and family waiting for them with armfuls of flowers and balloons. No nonsense way, flight attendants would weave around colorful, aimless schools of tourists, the tacky gift shops, and the buzz and hum of anticipation in the air. If New Year's Eve was a place, it would be an airport. I spotted Ruth easily in her bright red parka and mustard yellow beanie, brighter against a backdrop of dully colored chauffeurs. I was suddenly very aware of how I might look. The flight wasn't a long one, but despite my very romantic view of airports, the actual experience of flying, especially crammed into the sardine tin that counted as economy fare these days, was quite the opposite of that. I felt like I had somehow not showered in 3 days, even though I had just showered the morning of my departure. Ruth was scanning the crowd, searching for me. It was my first time in New York. She had insisted on my coming over winter break when she was spared from both work and school and could devote some time in properly showing me around the city. In her second year of university, she had already made her way into working for a small architectural firm. I'm barely an assistant, she would remind me whenever we would talk. Yeah, but at least you have a real adult job, I'd reply. It wasn't envy, but more of a sense of admiration. Ruth had always been better at school than I was. I found myself struggling at university after barely limping past the finish line during my first year. My second year wasn't pulling any punches either. But I resolved to put school out of my mind for now because after scraping together my meager paychecks and counting down the days, I was finally really here. I call out Ruth's name, and in a moment her wiry arms are wrapped up around me, the top of her head just grazing against my chin. Have you gotten taller since I last saw you? She is laughing as I wipe my eyes with my sleeves. Have you considered that maybe you've gotten smaller? It's as if no time has passed at all between us. We do our best to keep in touch, but between school and work and all the time difference, it hasn't been as often as I would have liked, and there really is nothing like talking to somebody in person. Ruth insists on a cab back to her place, countering my protest by reminding me that it was my very first time visiting New York and a vague reference to some surprise Christmas bonus courtesy of her boss. I made a mental note to hide some cash in the coat pocket before I left her place and let her push my card away when I tried to pay the fare. Her apartment is a cozy little walk-up that she shares with two other roommates. Like most of my other friends in their first apartments, their decor leans more garage sale than thrift store chic. Back then, the still novel feeling of independence lent even the shabbiest of secondhand furnishings a sort of romantic glow. Thank God. I mean, Aisha is pre-law, so I literally never see her, and I think she uses this place as a glorified storage unit. Not that I'm complaining. Ruth is perched on a lumpy, outdated ottoman next to the record player. And Emily just started dating someone new, thank goodness. The last one was in a frat, and we all knew how that was going to end. The one before with the two DUIs or the one with 11 siblings? I'm nursing one of the beers that Ruth had stocked in the fridge. I was still trying to figure out if I was someone who liked the taste of beer or if I liked it because everybody else seemed to like it. Oh God, I can barely keep up with her. This was the one with 3 DUIs. Ruth rolls her eyes theatrically. I still think you lucked out with them. I shrugged. My parents live near enough my campus that it just didn't make sense to move out yet. Not that I would know, I guess. They're all right. I can't wait until I can afford my own place, though. She takes a dramatic pull of her beer to emphasize the point and glances at the clock. Are you almost done your beer? If you're not too tired from the flight, I have a couple places I've been dying to check out with you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jadakshi and I'm a third-year undergraduate student at SFU majoring in psychology. I will be sharing my piece which is titled Immigration with you all today. Moving to a foreign country and living alone was quite challenging. The very first day when I moved and bid goodbye to my parents, I cried my eyes out because I never imagined living all by myself in a completely new environment. I had to control my tears in front of my parents because I knew that if they saw me crying, they would end up crying too. Being their first child, it was hard for them as well to leave me all by myself. It was my decision to move to Vancouver to pursue my further studies, so I knew I had to be strong. A lot of things started to scare me. For example, cooking was a distant dream to me. I never knew how to cook before, and learning how to do that was challenging at first. Things would end up being a total disaster. Eventually, I took baby steps in learning how to cook with my mother's help over FaceTime calls and ended up succeeding gradually. When I think about my first day in Canada, I feel so proud of myself and so do my parents on how far I have come along this beautiful journey of learning. Thank you.
Hi, I'm back. Hi, everyone who just joined. I am Bhavya Goswami. I am joining you all from India right now, from New Delhi. And the excerpt I will be reading tonight is about my first flight ever. It took one call from my mother to wake me up that morning and get ready. I barely slept. I just closed my eyes and lying underneath my favorite blanket that I was not allowed to take with me and dreamt of flying on top of spotless clouds for the first time in my life. While I got ready, I heard luggages being dragged and stored in the trunk of the car. My parents briefed me throughout the car ride about taking care of my brother and myself and how to come back to them if I was lost. I was the only one among me, my mother, father, and brother who could speak fluent English at that time. So all the responsibility of dealing with the airport staff, immigration officers, and the flight attendants was on me. I felt like I entered in this new phase of my life where I interact with grown-ups. At 11, that was like having to give all your exams on the same day. I can never forget my parents' eager faces that turned towards me every time they heard the word Singapore in an announcement, waiting for me to explain what was said. I passed through a giant shaky tunnel, which I later learned is called the Aero Bridge, and entered the flight. I showed all our boarding passes to the flight attendant, and she directed us towards our seat. I felt so small and tiny in the plane. Listening to the classical sitar music playing, we were offered welcome drinks that I was made to confirm with the flight attendant were free. They were indeed, and so were the snacks put in front of my parents in the basket, which they passed to us behind them where we were sitting. Next to me sat a lady wearing a dozen bangles on both her hands, and I still remember that jingling sound that her armful of bangles made every time she reached to press the button that called the flight attendant. Initially, I thought it was the sound of her bangles that did, but then I saw a light pop up as she pressed the button. On that flight, I drank the most delicious orange juice I ever had in my life. The way first sip made my ears pop open and quenched my thirst was astounding. It had the perfect amount of sweet and sour in its pulp. I would order it. I would order it again and again by pressing the button throughout the flight while my family slept along with the rest of the passengers. Now at present, I feel guilty of having to disturb the flight attendants for my juice again and again. Luckily, they seemed to like it for some reason, as at the end of my flight, they gave me candy and pinched my cheeks. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Donaldson. I will be going next. I'll be reading an excerpt of my work titled My Canvas, and it is about my collection of tattoos. The day I got my first tattoo, I expected it to feel similar to a flu shot. To my surprise, the feeling of the tattoo needle was a different type of pain. To make a viable comparison, it reminded me of getting an allergy test. The needle only scrapes a few top layers of skin, making it significantly less painful than receiving a shot, at least in my opinion. Located in Vancouver's Chinatown, the studio I planned on going to would be quite a trek from my home in the valley. When I arrived, the studio around me was bright and contemporary. It was painted white with fluorescent lighting, and portions of chain link fence were used as dividers between stations. From my vantage point, I was left with the view of a wall which stood behind the workbed. On this wall, there was a showcase of previous projects completed by my artist. Images of stylized plants and animals decorated the space and held my attention. The smell of the studio was quite fresh, but also medicinal. Plants hung from the ceiling, resting in pots supported by leather harnesses. The music that filled the air was somewhat alternative and faded into the background, masked by the buzzing of the machine which powered the needle. My artist was Ashley. I had been following her on Instagram for a while and viewed her as a type of celebrity. Her art had grabbed my attention when I first began researching tattoos. Thick lines and shading that resembled pointillism were her styles. When she emerged from a back room, she was quite tall and slender, around 30 years of age, and sported an all-black outfit. Her head had been recently shaved, as she had just acquired a large scalp tattoo of a reptile, which started at her hairline and ended at the nape of her neck. She had angular features and pale skin, as well as almost zero eyebrows. A septum piercing was fitted in her nose, which seemed to bring her entire aesthetic together. Her exposed limbs housed dozens of tattoos, working as an intricate canvas. While some may have viewed her as slightly intimidating, her personality was grounded and friendly. I went into the experience expecting it to be quite nerve-wracking. In reality, I found it to be almost therapeutic. The atmosphere of the studio was quite relaxing for me, as it was bright and featured a variety of indoor plants. The medicinal smell of the room was due to sanitation, which makes for a hygienic studio and experience. Because of this, I felt more at ease, knowing that the space around me was kept clean. As I found that the area I was getting tattooed, my outer right bicep, didn't hurt too much to get worked on, it was actually a challenge not to fall asleep. Best of all, I was the owner of a brand new tattoo of a raven for my dog, Raven. My second tattoo, which features a large moth, is on my inner right forearm and was a completely different story in terms of pain. My first tattoo experience was very chill and had an easygoing vibe. Because of this, I've gone back to Ashley on 6 different occasions to decorate and fill the space on my right arm. Finding an artist you trust is part of what makes the experience of getting a tattoo so great. In the future, I plan on visiting Ashley even more to get more tattoos to expand my showcase of her art.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Carson, and I am a 4th year communication major and GSWS minor. And today I'll be reading you an excerpt from my memoir titled Dreams from a Nightmare. For a few moments, I was able to look at my life from a completely different perspective. I'm just a kid from rural Ohio who got a little older and moved to Vancouver, where I was at the commencement of a lifelong adventure. But as all moments of clarity do, this integral way of looking at my life soon fleeted into oblivion, and once more I let the minuscule burdens of daily life bog down my mind. There have been very few instances since that moment in which I can recall totally accepting that perspective on life. There have been a plethora of tiny, insignificant thoughts and worries that burden me daily. There have also been massive, seemingly endless events and thoughts that have burdened me. As of right now, I still feel helpless and hopeless from the COVID-19 pandemic. Vaccines are being distributed daily, but I can't help but think that every passing day is a waste of not only my time, but my life. Inside my head is a constant and endless buzzing of 10,000 thoughts, ranging from, I need to finish this assignment, to, should the human race continue to exist if we destroy our current planet? Any sort of thought, large or small, is constantly eating away at my mental capacity. I find myself lying in bed all day, doing nothing but try to gear myself up to do all the tasks that I need to do. Suddenly, it's dark outside and I have accomplished nothing, yet I am so tired. This cycle continues. Tasks keep piling up until I simply cannot stand it anymore. It's moments like these that I wonder, is my life a dream or is it a nightmare? Sometimes I'll lash out in anger and disappointment with myself. Other times I'll cry. My boyfriend will come over, lay beside me in bed, and just let me cry until I have nothing left to give. Then he'll make a list of every task that I've let pile up, and he'll help me complete it in any way that he can. For almost 4 years, this has gone on, an endless, vicious, and seemingly unavoidable cycle that plagues my existence. My brain will tell me that my existence is futile, but soon, just like rain clouds are swept from the sky and sunlight shines down, I will have a moment where I know that's not true. This moment of clarity takes many forms. It could be a video I see online, or even just a particularly beautiful day I see out of my window. It always comes for a moment to show me that I will prevail. I prevailed 4 years ago when my entire teenage life crumbled around me. I will prevail in the furious storm that is university. And I will prevail through all the moments of my life until I cannot any longer. Thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you to all the readers for sharing a writing with us. I would like to mention that our beautiful book cover was jointly designed by Rayna and Angelina. Yes, the one you see on the screen. Beautiful. I would like to express our gratitude towards the department for funding this project, and particular thanks to Dr. Helen Leong, the chair of the department. I would like to thank Aman Chandi, the communication specialist for GSWS, for her help with publicity, promotions, and technology for this event. And last but not the least, I would like to thank everybody who came to listen to our work this evening. Thank you for your time.
Well done, everybody. Great job. Big round of applause. Excellent. And what a nice crowd. We've got 44 people in the room. Fabulous. Thanks for showing up to support our readers. If you came in late, my name is Claire Robson. I've been lucky enough to work with this talented group of students this semester, and it's been a real joy. We do have a little time left. If anybody has any questions for the readers, perhaps you were struck by something that they said and you'd like to know a little more, or perhaps you'd like to know a little more about the process. Particular thanks, I think, should go to our last reader, Taylor, who did such an authentic job on letting us know just how difficult it has been for our students to concentrate and to work and to stay focused during COVID. I think it has affected our young people certainly more than I realized before I came into the semester. I had been teaching online, but not face-to-face. It's been really tough. Young people, I think, navigate their identities a great deal through their peers, through community. They're very connective, and they don't have the very well-established resources that older people tend to enjoy. So it's been a tough year for them, and I think they deserve every credit for staying focused and doing this incredible work under very difficult circumstances. For people like Bhavya and others in the class who are in China, the time difference has been a challenge, poor internet, poor bandwidth, but they have soldiered on and they have come through and done us and the department proud. So hopefully that's given you a little time to think of any questions. So please post anything in the chat or unmute and fire away. I'm just scrolling through because I can't see everybody. I'm just trying to see if anybody's unmuted or has a hand raised. Shiraz wants to know if anybody have written anything about grandparents, and indeed somebody has. Who was that? Do you want to, I think it might have been, was it Han? Did you write about visiting your grandparents in China?
Oh,
that
no,
was my
I grew up with my grandparents, so I wrote a little bit about them. Well, a lot of it about them, actually.
Can I ask why you're particularly interested in that, Shiraz?
Yeah, I am doing research on what grandparents and grandchildren learn from each other. And I've started Grandparents Film Festival and collect all the picture books with grandparents. So I find there are a lot of grandmothers missing in the stories compared to grandfathers. So I was interested to know if there was any stories uh, relating to their love and friendship with the grandmothers. And also I write poetry. So I've written poetry on gender justice. So you can check it out on my website.
Fabulous, great question, and what a wonderful piece of research. Actually, the piece that's coming to mind is about a grandfather. Isn't that interesting? Why do you think that might be? That grandmothers are left out.
Yeah, I don't know, because when I collect picture books, 80% of it are almost 80% are written by granddaughters. So you find a lot of books with granddaughters and grandparents. And then when you look at the movies are mostly with elder men or grandfathers. I don't know. Somebody told me they can't find female actors to play the role of grandmothers. So I'm still doing my research, and I'm even trying to have Grandparents' Day on Victoria Day, Canadian Grandparents' Day on Victoria Day, so that on that day, which is May 24th, that grandchildren should write poetry, songs, and anything they've learned from their grandparents. But I'm still find that the people who really make good movies are from China and Korea and some Latin America like Mexico, but you don't find anything from India or Africa. And yet India is the top filmmakers, or second best top. So I think in India, once you are 50 plus, the women are out of the movies, and unless they want to be mother-in-law.
Yes, and probably a wicked mother-in-law at that. Thanks for the question, Shiraz. We have another question. I'm going to ask you to unmute and fire away.
Yeah, okay, I just do it,
Yeah.
Thank you. And my name's Rima, but I'm on an iPad and I don't know how to rename myself.
Hi, Rima. How are you? How nice to
I'm well, thanks. I just want to echo your thoughts, Claire, on how touching that piece by Taylor was, and it has been a tough year. I enjoyed listening to everybody's work, and I was just curious what you folks feel you've learned through this writing process, especially writing memoir, which is different than creative writing or poetry writing, which you may have done. So I'm just interested in what you learned about the writing process in creating these pieces.
All right, here's a challenge. Speak up or I'll feel my work was pointless.
I can start. I never really had a group of people to talk about writing with. I've usually been very solitary and I just really keep it to myself. So I think it was really nice being pushed out of my comfort zone to talk so openly and vulnerably about writing with people. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think every week giving feedback to each other's writing, I felt like I wrote so many other work as well. I thought I was part of their work, they were part of my work, so it was collaborative. And every single lecture you learned about something else, and you wanted to add that aspect into your anthology. So our anthology kept on changing every week when we learned more and more about different concepts that Claire brought on. And honestly, I didn't felt I was not upset at all waking up at 5 a.m. every lecture. I was looking forward to every lecture. Yeah.
Anybody else on that topic? Do we have any other questions? Any responses or any further questions? That was a great question, Rima. Thank you.
I just want to say it's been very, very exciting to see this come to life. I've heard Jenny and I've heard about the work that it's very exciting to see this just from where it started to how it's forming, and I can't wait to see the published product. I'm curious if any of the writers would like to kind of touch on any other topics, if there's any other kind of stories that they did consider but didn't end up choosing, or if there's more work that they might explore after this.
Great question. Thank you. Does anybody want to take that one? Do any of you feel that you will carry on and develop these memoirs, or do you feel confident enough in your voices to write more? Or was this? Who was that?
Thank you for your question. It's Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Hey, Claire. Thank you for your question, Scott. I know that what this class really did for me was open up a whole bunch of worms about like identity and different things that made up our identity. And I thought that was really, really interesting and sometimes scary and also fun. And so I think it's actually inspired me to look into like further publications. So like looking at applying to even like poetry journals and stuff like that. So I thought using this class as a stepping stone to just further explore these topics, but then also build our resume, I thought that was really cool. So you get some like real world experience out of this class. So yeah, that's me personally.
Yes, I suggested to Sharon that the poem about her female ancestors, I think, would find a home in a literary journal. And she and I have been talking about where we might place that beautiful piece about, you know, every time we drink water, we think about the girls and the women who had to walk so far to carry water, to have water. I think it's such a deep piece, and it's so resonant in so many different cultures. I think there would be no problem finding a home for that, and many of the other pieces in the anthology. We have a question, is it possible to buy the book? I will just remind everybody once again, as a piece of shameless promotion, that we are doing one printing of the book. The department was very generous in funding this project, but it is a small department, so the funding wasn't huge. So we are doing one run of the book and will not be able to reprint. If you would like to purchase a copy, just send your order in immediately and we will order extra copies. Any further questions? I don't see any hands. Speak now. Because,
yes.
well, yes.
Yes. If you can mention also the email, it's in the chat, they can email you.
Yes, my address is right in the chat, and you can also email Jenny at, I'll put her address in the chat too. We should tell you the price. It's $300 a copy. No, we wish. It's $10 a copy. And we'll need to figure out postage too. So, okay, thanks. We've already got one order. Excellent. If there are any further questions, please raise a hand or speak up. Otherwise, we'll just thank everybody one more time. And thank you all very, very much for coming. It's really great to read to an audience. It gives you special insight, I think, into your work. It's been a fabulous opportunity for our readers. So thanks again. Thanks to Aman for navigating tech. Thanks to everybody who came. Thanks to everybody who read. Be calm, be safe, be kind. Thanks a lot.